today, when we are inundated by data, information, misinformation, all kinds of communication about management, when I met Dilip Mukherjee, I said, wow, this seems to bring in a breath of fresh air. And indeed, with Dilip came a whole horde of information, but information with a difference, because he made it all sound so real, natural, practical, and sometimes just like plain common sense. Welcome, Dilip, to the Mauritius College of the Air.
Thank you, Shakuntala.
And your reputation precedes you with all these wonderful books you've written. One is called Brain Dancing. My goodness. And another one you have right here is Surfing the Intellect. Sometimes I ask myself, how do simple things become so voluminous and look so frightening for people who have to understand management today? I mean, is there a simple technique, is there simple ways where you can make all these abstruse truths come through? I've put you into a tight spot, I know.
No tight spot at all.
Great.
That's a great question and can be answered simply by looking at children. The secret of all learning, all management accomplishment rests in the positive qualities of a child. These positive qualities are curiosity, enthusiasm, spontaneity, imagination, an unlimited capacity to learn new behavior, a sense of fun, an absence of fear. When management dislodges all these positive qualities and they assume the status quo of pinstriped importance, the status quo has no status. And very quickly, the red tape is the only thing holding any place together. So that has to be demolished straight away. Otherwise, bureaucracy will become bureaucrazy. And we are going to steal the legacy that we have a birthright and a mandate to give to the children of the new millennium.
Absolutely. I mean, I have in front of me, Dilip, the picture of the bureaucrat, the bureau rat, sitting there at the table.
That's right.
Quite insecure, because he's got these huge projects to go through, but he doesn't know how. Sometimes he has the money to spend and he doesn't know how. He can't trust his juniors and he doesn't like his superior. And there he's sitting and he doesn't know how to get through within the next 2 years, which is the deadline he has to meet.
Mm-hmm.
According to me, and as you say, we are all zapped, we are all sapped somewhere in our deep interiors.
Yeah.
We've stopped this act of spontaneity and ask you, I really don't know how to go about this business.
Yeah.
We have stopped becoming humble and saying we don't know. We are becoming pretentious and we're saying we know how to handle it, and we're losing everything.
Very apt. In fact, one of the earthquakes that rocked my mind was this whole phenomenon of knowing or not knowing. We've often pretended to know about and assumed that knowing about is knowing. But in fact, that only highlights our ignorance. We have to ask questions. We have to challenge ourselves, especially when we are most successful. Otherwise, we are not being successful. We are successfuls. And we've deluded ourselves into a sense of complacency which has no right to be there. Because what is happening in the end is that we are creating victims. Victims are the generations to follow. Victims are the innocent people that are outside this protectionist system. These people could be children, they could be old people, they could be women, they could be just innocent people who are aspiring just for a higher quality of life. And they have a purpose, which is stymied and stifled by a bureaucracy status quo. That has to be blown away. No way. And the other side of it is that in terms of taking action, many people say something must be done. They are busy blaming the systems and blame-storming as opposed to brainstorming. And that, using your expression, allows the bureau rat to proliferate. So instead of saying something must be done, if everyone said I must do something, you change your vocabulary, and the collective I becomes a we. And finally, we are imprisoned by electronica. E this and E that, and worst of all, ego. And my perspective is that if we look for the massive common good, we will move from ego to we go, and the collective good will win. I don't believe that a lone voice in the wind will never be heard. It must be the starting point.
Mm-hmm. So basically you're looking at systems, subsystems, Dilip.
Yeah, very true.
You're looking at a home, which is also managed.
Yes.
You're looking at an office, which is managed. You're looking at huge institutions, which are managed or mismanaged, as the case may be. But when you talk about management, people think there is a secret formula. There is a magic, open sesame sort of thing. What is your formula?
I love
for a housewife, for a big guy up there, who's got 50 things frying up in his cap. What is this formula that you can recommend?
I think I should be interviewing you. This is wonderful. I love your perspective. If you ever have a doubt about any slogan or cliche that's proliferating in the marketplace, always go back to the root of the word. And you are far more qualified than I am with your pedigree in education to do this. But if you take the word management and you go back to its roots, it comes from the word manas, meaning hand. And management originally meant being hands-on, using a hand, being immersed, involved in life, and not sitting in some pompous throne in some virtual territory, barking orders at people and expecting that it's your birthright to get everything at the end of the rainbow. I believe that you are very accurate in having spotted, I'm talking systemically, all of life is systems. Any good you do, anywhere, will have an effect. Any bad you do will have an effect. Everything is connected to everything else. How do we address this? One of the biggest problems facing management in any capacity, in any domain, is non-performing people. The average bureaucrat goes to work as an expense item, not as a revenue generator. He or she is operating on obsolete expertise. And this person has a very high WQ. WQ is their waste quotient. And the head is full of dead data. It's full of stuff that worked yesterday. It's no longer relevant today. And this form of negative leadership disinspires, to create a word, the people below them. So how do you motivate a workforce? How do you motivate society? How do you inspire people in the home? And here I would go to 4 I's. You must involve people. You can't polarize people, keep them out. You must involve them. Second I is you must inform them. Keep them informed. It's a natural instinct for human beings to be informed, but if you keep them misinformed, disinformed, or uninformed, they're going to feel polarized and excluded from society. So you must inform them. You must involve them. You must keep them intrigued. People must remain intrigued. A healthy curiosity is directly related to innovation. And finally, you must inspire them. Imagine a society from the government onwards having inspired people, inspiring people, instead of a society of the mediocre in charge of an underclass of the mediocre. That's so dispiriting.
When you come to this wonderful concept of leadership, the fish rots, I believe, in the head. So said a management expert.
Right.
And it's true. I mean, let's look at the world around us. You look at the way the media just flocks to so-called leaders, political leaders, social leaders, economic leaders, and they're supposed to say these absolute truths, and we are all hanging on to those biblical utterances.
Yes.
And then finding that, it's a lot of feet of clay and all toppling like a pack of cards. So somewhere along the line, this question of leadership, I mean, are the leaders really leaders? This is another question. What makes leadership? What are those ingredients that make leadership?
You're a formidable lady. Very good. Deep questions to the point. Let me try to answer you concisely due to our time constraints. Firstly, there's no such thing as a bad leader. It's an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms. So your expression, so-called leaders, they're not leaders at all. If they are so-called, it's because we gave permission for them to be called leaders. But good leaders and good leaders are leaders. You don't need good before that. They have qualities that would start with vision. Normally, people who are poor leaders, their visions require revisions. For every vision, there's an equal and opposite revision. And they are all the time chopping and changing. There's nothing clear-cut. They don't have a laser beam focus towards a destination. So good leaders have a clear vision. After that, good leaders have passion. You can have vision, and if you don't have passion, you don't have the spark plug to ignite the fuel within people's spirits. But you can have vision and passion, and you don't have integrity, then you're going to mislead people. So you must have integrity. If leaders are busy lining their pockets, and they lack integrity, who's going to believe in their credibility? There'll be no followers, and these leaders will be leading in a vacuum. So there's vision, passion, integrity. But you can have all three and still be non-performing as a leader unless you build trust. Trust is invaluable in any relationship, whether in the home, in the office, in families, or in society at large, or cosmically. Trust is invaluable, and we have arrived at a point in our lives where trust has evaporated. Then, in this age of innovation, you can have all these qualities and still not be a durable leader unless you have curiosity. You must have continual curiosity. Keep asking questions like a child. And that is the raw material to keep us going on and on and on. And yet you must consider that you could stagnate with all these 5 qualities unless you have the final one. And that is daring. You must dare to dream. You must dare to be. You must dare to do. You must dare to fail. You must dare to live. And if you don't have the quality of daring and you're suppressed and stymied by fear, you're going to be strangled. You've given permission to die early, maybe as a teenager and buried several decades later. Mm-hmm. And then people say, well, you must get out of the box. Well, it's not a box. You must get out of the coffin. Right? And in terms of a nation, there's a final quality for leadership, the quality of successorship. Great civilizations have collapsed because existing leaders didn't prepare for the periods when they are no longer there. So successorship is invaluable. And if your government, if your institutions, if your homes do not prepare for successorship, you're going to have a system of accelerated rot.